You are listening to Realign Your Life Podcast, where I discuss with you strategies on how to realign your life and move towards the direction you always want to. I am Vivian, the host of this podcast, and every week I will bring value on how to improve and realign your life either through a guest or my thoughts. I can't wait to share what we have this week. It's time to realign your life. Well, welcome back to Realign Your Life Podcast. It's Vivian, the host of the show. I'm so excited to have you once again to join me. I am honored and I'm also humbled that you are here today. So I want to address the other side of that subject matter that I've talked about earlier in an earlier episode. And I want to address guilt because I believe that guilt is coming from our moral compass, which I'm going to talk about that a little later. But remember that moral compass is for us as believers, the Holy Spirit that is working in us because he comes to guide and to lead us into all truths. And that's our part of our values, those core values that we've talked about in previous episodes. So if we look at this episode, and if I had to give it a title, this is what I would call it. The weight of guilt. Navigating the complex emotion. So let's dig and jump right into it. Okay. Guilt is a powerful and often very overwhelming emotion. And it's an integral part of our human nature. Again, it stems from our moral compass, and it is a reminder of our actions or decisions about our values or whether we have hurt others. While guilt can be a driving force for positive changes, it can also be a burden that hinders personal growth and our well-being. So we're going to look at the multifaceted nature of guilt, its origin, and the ways that we can handle it constructively to lead to a more fulfilling and satisfied life as we realign. So guilt is different from shame as it specifically relates to our actions and their consequences. When we experience guilt, we feel remorseful for something that we did or failed to do. And this feeling may derive from something real, or it can be a perceived wrongdoing. It serves as a signal that we have done something that is inconsistent with our values, and it prompts us to make resolution or to seek amends. Again, I believe that is the Holy Spirit that is prompting us toward those goals. Now, the root of guilt can be found in our upbringing, in our personal belief, or societal expectations. During childhood, we learn right from wrong from either our caregivers or from society itself. These early lessons that we experience shapes our moral compass, and it sets the foundation for experiencing guilt in our later lives. Cultural and religious influences also play a very significant role in determining what actions are acceptable and those that are unacceptable. And it's just so very interesting because I grew up in a religious background. And and even in that religious background, for me, I grew up a Methodist, and some of those boundaries or barriers were totally different than what you would have found in a Baptist church or a Presbyterian church or Lutheran church. So that goes back to some of those roots can be found in our upbringing and in our cultural settings. And when we think about that and all of the influences that are coming at us, this can really lead to that complexity of guilt. And in my own personal experience, I felt that. And it was from what I was expected to do, from my family, from the community itself. There were certain rules or aspects that you were expected to perform. And if you didn't perform it this way or that way, you begin to have these guilt feelings. So let's look a little bit more at guilt and some of its complexities. Guilt can either be constructive or it can be destructive for us. And it totally depends on how we perceive it and how we handle it. Constructive guilt motivates us to take responsibility and accountability for our actions, to make reparations, and to learn from our mistakes. However, this beautiful constructive, when we beautifully use constructive guilt, it can lead to our personal growth and help us to develop a stronger commitment to our values. Now, on the other hand, destructive guilt can also have some ramifications. So when we ruminate excessively on past actions, it can immobilize us with feelings of unworthiness and regrets. And this prolonged guilt can really have detrimental effects on our mental health, contributing to anxiety, depression, and a decreased sense of self-worth. But wait a minute, it's not all loss, because here we can cope with guilt. So dealing with guilt in a healthy manner is very crucial for us to be able to maintain our emotional well-being and foster our personal development. So I want to share with you a few strategies that we can employ to cope with guilt in a constructive manner. So the first one is acknowledge and reflect. What does that mean? Take the time to acknowledge and understand the source of your guilt. Where are those feelings and where are those thoughts coming from? Consider whether they were in your control or did they come from some external factor or factors. Number 2, learn from our mistakes. You know, insanity is defined as you're looking for, keep doing the same thing and looking for different results. So when we learn from our mistakes, that's simply a part of being human. Use guilt as a catalyst for growth and learning. Identify the lessons that you can learn from this experience and not do this in the future. Or not, don't repeat it. Make amends. If at all possible, take steps to amend your actions. A sincere apology coupled with a commitment to change can ease that feeling of guilt. Number 4, practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would give to a friend who has made a mistake. Understand that everyone is fallible and guilt does not define your entire being. Number 5, let go of perfectionism. Let go of it. Accept that striving for perfection is unrealistic. Embrace the idea that imperfection is part of being human and focus on the progress instead of the unrealistic ideal. And number 6, seek support. Talk to a trusted friend, family member, or a therapist about your guilt. Sharing your emotions with someone who listens without judgment can provide a much needed relief. So my friends, I hope that you will take into account some of these 6 strategies that I've just shared for you to be able to cope with constructive guilt and move on to the life that you have always wanted for yourself. So, in conclusion, though guilt a complex and sometimes burdensome emotion can serve as an essential guide on our journey to be better individuals. It can spur positive changes in our lives, deepen our sense of responsibility, and reinforce our values. However, if it goes unrecognized and undealt with, guilt can transform into a self-destructive force that hinders our personal development and growth and our happiness. So by adopting these strategies and understanding the origin of guilt, we can navigate this intricate emotion with resilience that will ultimately lead us to a more fulfilling and compassionate life. So, thanks again for joining me for this episode. And as I mentioned earlier, if you find this information helpful, please share it with someone that you think it may be helpful to also. So I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. And in the meantime, peace. I hope you enjoyed this episode. The best gift that you could give me is to share this podcast with family and friends. And don't forget to review it. That way, this podcast will grow organically. If you need to reach out to me, please check out my Facebook page, DM me there, or you can email me at godskow@gmail.com. We have upcoming Bible studies that we would love for you to join us in, or if there is a guest or someone that you would like to see me interview on this podcast, please let me know. We are here to work together to realign our lives. Until the next episode, take care, and I look forward to sharing more and more with you as we realign our lives. Peace until next week.